Hello, Phil here from Authentic Vocal and welcome to another video. If you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I hope you guys appreciate the fully authentic vocals that are featured in this video and that you enjoy the analysis as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have finally found a performance of Oh Holy Night that has not been pitch corrected or auto-tuned. So this one that we're going to be taking a look at tonight is by Martina McBride, and I have featured her on the channel previously. And when we looked at her voice previously, I did say it's one of the most accurate voices you're ever going to hear. The link to the original performance is in the description below, as always, if you want to cross-reference anything or just enjoy the performance, because we are going to be obviously jumping into this, but we are going to be listening to the isolated vocal as well. I'll leave the accompaniment in there to begin with, so that at least we get that reference of pitch when Martina comes in. Let's have a listen.
Oh, holy night, the stars are brightly shining. It is the night of our dear Savior's birth.
I'm going to jump in here already because when I said in my previous analysis video on Martina that she has one of the most accurate voices you're ever going to see, this is already living up to that, because look at the way that when we start, this is bang on pitch for a natural voice. This isn't pitch corrected or auto-tuned, so it means that we are going to have places where we are slightly sharp. It just sounds absolutely spot on, and parts where we do drift a little bit. But as we go through, take a look at that, the B3, which is absolutely on top of that line. And then here, the B3, Martina's then just a little bit flat of it. But, it's great because it just sounds spot on. And you'll see this kind of thing being slightly sharp. And here, I know that I'm effectively saying that she's not on the line here, but natural voices don't sing on these lines. It has to be calibrated to be on these lines all the time. You always get the resets, which is what I say about natural voices, but also great singers always have resets. No matter how accurate they are, they're working with human vocal cords which aren't calibrated. So anyway, this vibrato you can actually see, it sounds great, but we do just ever so slightly descend while getting wider, covering more pitch.
Long lay the world.
And just the way here that we start this phrase from pretty much vocal fry.
Long lay.
Yeah, so when we get into that note,
Long.
yeah, it's that long, and the vocal fry, you can see it kind of doesn't register as pitch, but then the pitch just appears when we get this and then it kicks in again just slightly below the B3 there, and then we just come up to the B3, and again technically just a little bit underneath, but this is a natural voice, and which is really accurate.
In sin and error pining.
Just listen to this. It is great. And I love seeing this kind of thing where you can say that, well, technically the average of that pitch that's being covered with vibrato is between notes. It couldn't be any less accurate, but we're talking about one of the most accurate voices you're ever going to hear.
The thrill of hope, the weary world rejoices, for yonder breaks a new and glorious morn.
And I'm going to jump in here because we're all waiting to hear this held note. But again, look here, really accurate with the G4. I'm going to let it play on. And there we have it. Totally natural voice there. And you can see, actually, before the G4 that she hit, you can see she just ascended and was right on top of the line of the G4 by the time she got to the end of the note. So she was absolutely locked in here, and because her intervals are so good, because she was locked in, she's now just gone straight to that pitch again and absolutely nails this G4, so that we do actually spend time on top of this line. But then, because this isn't pitch corrected, it isn't auto-tuned, great singers, I always say it, the byproduct of having a great voice means that they will occasionally be on these lines, but it's not something that happens all the time. It's not something, I mean, look at it here. Great example of the opposite happening, where we're now not on the line, we're below, and then we go above, and then we go below again. So you say, well, you know, how do you explain that after this held note? Why isn't the next note perfectly on the line as well? If she's this accurate in real life, it's because she's got human vocal cords and she's not calibrated to this graph. So even here you can see that she's ever so slightly above the line, but this is still massively accurate. And listen to it in context, and listen to where theoretically we're missing the note flat and then sharp. Let's see what it actually sounds like to the ear. It just sounds absolutely spot on.
Oh, hear the angel voice.
And again, here, I'm just going to zoom in so we can see the amount of variation that we do get in this held note, where we are pretty much on top of the line, but you can see, you know, technically, you know, above, below, above, below, above, and then I can move this across so that we can see it. And then we come into this vibrato, which is a little bit below and then above. So yeah, it's great. There's so much variation just in a single held note when you're looking at a natural voice. But I'll let it play on. I mean, these held notes are so spot on, and you know, again, just ever so slightly above sharp of that G4, but the maintenance of pitch is really impressive. When Martina hits a note, she is locked in, and I'm talking about from a natural perspective, that she's going to be locked into that pitch, and even when it does go ever so slightly above, ever so slightly below, that is still locked in. That's just amazingly accurate for human vocal cords to be maintaining that pitch to that kind of degree. But let's listen on.
When Christ was born, all night divine.
And that's, oh, this is picking up harmonics now. These aren't A5s, these are A4s that are happening. And then it kind of righted itself so that we're now down at B4, A4. And then again, G4, really accurate now. Vibrato over the top of this G4.
All night divine.
I mean, what is interesting about this is that Martina's voice is just so good and so accurate. But with pitch correction especially, you can get somebody's voice to be this accurate, but artificially. So you'll hear the processing sound on it. We've obviously got no processed sound happening here because it's a natural voice, but it shows you how the technology has evolved. That, you know, actually the performances of Oh Holy Night that we have seen in the past have been right over the line all the time, really heavily calibrated, you know, too much calibration going on with those performances. But it does show you that this is basically the gold standard that has meant that because a great singer is going to be so close to these lines, they've realized, oh, we can make every singer now really close to these lines, and that's what the technology does. But I think it is really important to understand and appreciate who is actually doing it naturally, who has this ability through a lifetime's worth of dedication to singing and practicing hitting pitches. So, I mean, it is still night and day between a natural voice and one that has been corrected and manipulated. And I mean, the problem is that it might be the case in the future that they start to put in or intentionally leave in what would be a reset, but it's going to be the problem is it's going to be really difficult to manufacture what I refer to as the human vocal reset that you will see in natural voices. It's going to be so difficult to do that because when a great singer does it, you don't notice it. Whereas if you're trying to put it in there intentionally, it's going to sound like the person hit a wrong note. But great singers do it as just part of their voice and the expression of their vocal. So listen to this again.
Savior's birth.
Savior's birth. So that was in between the G sharp 3 and the A3, but it sounded absolutely fine. But if you were to move somebody's voice who maybe wasn't hitting these pitches naturally and tried to give them a reset, it might sound like, oh, hang on, they totally missed that note. Because somehow great singers are between lines but still sound absolutely pitch perfect. But there are singers who aren't as accurate and will be between notes who sound off pitch, even though they're technically hitting the same pitch. So as for how to explain that, there's no real explanation to it other than human expression and somebody putting feeling into a vocal, and you're hearing the feeling and not the pitch. Whereas when you start moving notes and doing it in a contrived way, looking at lines, it means that you're hearing pitch, not feeling. So that's why it sticks out. Could that be why potentially in the future tuned vocals are never going to sound natural? Because even when you try and put in something that's manipulated to try and pretend that it was real, it's going to sound out of place because it's now out of context of all of the other tuned notes. So yeah, I mean, obviously when I make these videos I just throw out these ideas and what I'm looking at, but maybe that is it, that just great voices are impossible to replicate. So that's why pitch correction and auto-tune sounds a bit weird, even when it's not perfectly over the lines. You know, the process sounds weird, but also it just doesn't quite connect on the same level as a natural voice. Let's listen on.
Long lay the world.
And listen to, I mean, I don't want this video to go on for years, but listen to the vulnerability in Martina's voice, the wobble.
Long lay the
And you can see it clearly on screen. This is all the same note. And look at the variation in pitch we get, which was a bit of a wobble. And I just described it as vulnerability in the voice, because that's what it sounded like. It didn't sound like, oh, hang on, 50 cents flat, 25 cents flat, 60 cents flat, going up to 80 cents sharp. We don't hear it like that. You just hear it as somebody communicating to you. And obviously Martina's voice just does that so clearly throughout this performance, but just because of the way that she's singing, and it's natural, and you just get the unedited and unfiltered expression through the microphone. But let's listen on.
world in sin and error pining till he appeared.
So much technique in here. That little rundown that she had, which was just so cool, really accurate as well.
Worth the thrill of hope. Voices
And again, look at these intervals. Again, spot on D4, spot on D4. And here, you know, doesn't matter. Obviously, that's the reset. It's a natural voice. And when we then come back to the D4, look at where we are. We're now a little bit below. But this is still all relevant to itself because it's all within that bracket of being as close as you'll ever need to be to the notes, with the expression in there as well. And I love seeing that kind of thing. And yeah, the pitch monitoring software is picking up harmonics, so it's getting like the octave above sometimes. But this kind of thing on the B4 Look at, I mean, that's about as opposite to auto-tune and pitch correction as you can get. Clearly sharp at the B4 and then flat at the B4, but that's just the natural freedom that's given to the vocal, that it doesn't matter that that happens, it still sounded great.
Divine all night, when Christ was born, all night, divine all night, all night, divine.
And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. As I said at the beginning of the video, one of the most accurate voices you're ever going to hear. And but even still, you know, when we start looking at this, I mean, she's just amazing at hitting pitches and just holding notes with minimal variation. You know, even though we're not going to be on lines all the time, we always get, you know, the reset here and being, you know, slightly sharp here and bang on here, and let me take this. Oh, technically a little bit sharp, but yeah, this is as close as makes no difference, really. But yeah, just so accurate the whole way through. And that last note was great because it's quite a subtle vibrato, but she is absolutely maintaining this pitch so accurately. In previous phrases and with previous notes, she's actually applied vibrato and ever so slightly decreased with pitch and maybe increased in pitch. But here, because it's the last note of the song, she is just absolutely locked in, because she knows it's the last note of the song, that she's going to hold it for a very long time, and just hits that, and then applies the vibrato, and I don't even know. Yeah, so I was singing a G4, so it was the correct note. But just that appreciation as well of locking into the accuracy when you want to hit it really accurately and when you want to vibrato right on pitch. That's something that she has the ability to do. She's got the ability to sing with expression and connect with an audience. Therefore, you're going to have pitches that are a little bit sharp, a little bit flat. But this is what a great voice has, and this is what great singers have the ability to do. If there's a note that they absolutely want to nail and be directly on pitch and apply vibrato on pitch, rather than going and dip below the note, which would be kind of coming down here and never going above, great singers can just apply that vibrato right over the note. And sometimes going above as well. So yeah, it's just total control of the expression within the voice through vibrato, and yeah, just the freedom to sing like this. I mean, it's great to hear great singers being allowed to sing without being post-pitch corrected or auto-tuned. And finally, we have found this performance, which is just an amazing performance of Oh Holy Night by Martina McBride. So there we have it. Thank you guys for watching this vocal analysis video. I hope you have enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys at the next one.